Yeah, telephone call, the audio files of which, excerpts of which were reviewed by the Bloomberg news agency, and it is the original source of this call. Look, anyone who is skeptical or has doubts that the Trump peace plan defaults to a pro-Kremlin, a pro-Putin stance, i.e. that the U.S. is really all about ultimately pushing Ukraine to accept a deal that amounts to either capitulation or something that's not really going to secure its long-term interests, this call is not going to be happy listening, or in the case of the transcript, reading of the transcript. Steve Witkoff, Donald Putin's top envoy, to cut to the chase, with Ukraine, held a phone conversation, 5 minutes, back on October 14th, according to this transcript, with Yuri Ushakov. Now, Yuri Ushakov is Vladimir Putin's top foreign policy advisor. Now, the call, when you read the transcript, reads not like one side, a man representing U.S. interests in this plan, trying to get the best deal for Russia and Ukraine. On the other side, the Russians trying to get their own best interests. It almost sounds like a coach talk, a pep talk that Witkoff is trying to give Ushakov. He's basically saying, we need to work together to get this peace deal done. And he's also telling him how to sort of butter up Trump. That is, coaxing him to have Putin, his boss, that is Putin, congratulate Trump on the recently then unveiled Gaza peace plan, calling Trump a man of peace, so on and so forth, so that they can then work together. Their call talks about Witkoff, tells Ushakov this is going to obviously require territorial concessions, this plan, on the part of Ukraine, Donetsk notably, but perhaps a land swap somewhere else as well. You can imagine how that ultimately went down with Ukraine. But this call is really the ground zero, if you will, the original source of what would eventually emerge as the 28-point peace plan earlier this month, earlier in November. So I want you to see the first point in this call. So it was 5 minutes, Witkoff speaking to Ushakov, and he's basically segueing from talking about the Gaza plan and trying to say we could do the same thing for Ukraine. Witkoff to Ushakov, I'm even thinking that maybe we set out like a 20-point peace proposal, just like we did in Gaza. We put a 20-point Trump plan together. That was 20 points for peace. And I'm thinking maybe we do the same thing with you. My point is this, and then Ushakov cuts him off. Okay, my friend. I think that point our leaders could discuss. Hey, Steve, I agree with you that he'll congratulate, he being Putin, will congratulate Trump. He will say that Mr. Trump is a real peace man and so and so. This reads like, if you read it this way, it's by no coincidence. It does read like these are two like-minded partners, not opposing sides or even adversaries in a very tough negotiation to come over an extremely complex conflict. This type of conversation will underscore the fears of those who believe, like I said, the White House's default position, even if sometimes Trump leans maybe a little bit more to Zelensky one day or more to Putin, the default position is more towards Putin. The default position is whenever a Trump negotiator speaks to a counterpart on the other side, is trying to sort of see how they can best play Trump, to get Trump on board. Trump emerges as almost like, as some people have said, like a childlike character who needs to be talked to in just the right way in order to be sort of brought over to a certain position. I'll show you one more little excerpt from this meeting, which once again underscores just how much these two men were sort of talking sort of on the same wavelength. Witkoff, yeah, because listen to what I'm saying. I just want you to say, maybe just to say this to President Putin, because you know I have the deepest respect for Putin. Yes, says Ushakov. Witkoff. He says to Trump, Steve and Yuri discussed a very similar 20-point plan to peace, and that could be something we think might move the needle a little bit. We're open to those sorts of things, to explore what it's going to take to get a peace deal done. Now, me to you, I know what it's going to take to get a peace deal done. Donetsk and maybe a land swap somewhere. You already see them laying the groundwork, the basis, Eve, for that what was a very controversial 28-point plan, which has since been now revised, which is still now being fine-tuned, revisited, if you will, and has now been boiled down to reportedly a 19-point plan with a lot more of the Ukrainian demands and talking points on board.
I have seen the Kremlin say that the leak of this Witkoff call is an attempt to hinder Ukraine peace talks. I haven't seen any reactions from Europeans as yet, but where are Europeans in all of this?
The Europeans are where they've been from the very beginning of this conflict, which is scrambling to have some sort of voice and say at the table. Yes, the European strategy has been the only strategy that they think they've really been able to adopt, although they're critics of it. It's that they have to heap praise on Trump. They have to they can't do anything to rile Trump Trump, because if they lose Trump, they lose the plot, right? So you praise Trump, you make it look like, yeah, this is a good plan, Mr. President. We can work with this. This is the basis of a really good peace plan, going almost like he's a kid, while delaying, stalling, negotiating, trying to buy as much time as possible to get as much purchase for the Europeans and the Ukrainians on the points that would actually make this, as they see it, a plan that would uphold the rule of law, respect international law norms, and ensure that Ukraine actually has a snowball's chance in something of having a lasting, enduring peace down the road, and will not have to be on the receiving end of a Russian aggression in the near future. So the Europeans are talking the talk, in the sense of they are officially paying lip service to the fact that we very much are appreciative of Donald Trump's efforts to bring this war to an end. We very much want to see that. We're working on points that we can all agree on going forward. But off the record and privately, and not even so privately, a lot of Europeans are sort of fed up with what they see as too much European acquiescence to Donald Trump and his position, too much bending over backwards in order to please Trump. Say the Europeans should be able to own their own position and be able to own it while not being afraid to, break with Trump if that's what it means to stand up for Ukraine. If the Europeans are going to say, we're with you as long as it takes, we really support Ukraine, then they have to actually walk the walk and not just talk the talk. So for some in the European camp, especially some in the Eastern European side, in the Baltic states, for instance, they believe that the Europeans really haven't done enough, they look weak, and that Donald Trump knows that Europe looks weak, which is why they're not really taking the Europeans seriously. They're not taking their plan that seriously. Ultimately, the default, once again, everything reverts back to that Witkoff-Ushakov phone call. It's what the U.S. says to the Russians, ultimately. Because remember, at this point, any European plan that does not meet Russia's maximalist aims, right? Any plan that does not make those cede that territory, that does not limit the size of Ukraine's military, so on and so forth, is not going to pass muster ultimately with Donald Trump, with Vladimir Putin, and even more so with the ultra-nationalists in Russia, who have a very strong influence on social media and elsewhere, with the ultra-nationalists who think any peace plan at this point is unacceptable and not even in Russia's interests, so long as Russia sees itself, which it does, as winning on the battlefield. At the end of the day, no plan is going to perhaps persuade Vladimir Putin to back down if he believes he's in a dominant position, as he does, if he believes he's winning on the battlefield, as he is, albeit at great cost in lives and equipment and soldiers. He's not going to back down, and ultimately, Vladimir Putin is going to press on because he believes he can outlast the Europeans, he can outlast the West, which he sees as weak and having no backbone. And that's the name of the game right now. So we could talk about the European strategy and the European counterproposal till the cows come home. But if Russia doesn't swallow it, it just isn't going to last. A deal might be signed. Everyone might cross the T's and dot the I's on some sort of deal. But the real question is, does it have any chance of lasting in the absence of real security guarantees and territorial guarantees for Ukraine going forward?
Douglas Herbert,